to which I'm also very, I have strong links with it. I'm in the executive board. It doesn't mean that I know all the answers to all the questions about BAPIO because I'm not one of the top brasses, but I'll give what information I have got about it and I'll try to answer the questions on it, how much I know, but not entirely. So, again, where Namita finished, because I think there's a lot of time, even my presentation should be over in 10 minutes. There are a few more things about Northeast perhaps you don't know. Do you know that the bridge here, it is the prototype of the Sydney Bridge, do you know that? The bridge which you look out from, if you look out from the windows of Hilton Hotel, the green bridge, that's the prototype of the Sydney Bridge. And you've heard about taking coal to Newcastle? That's because all the Newcastle for the East India Company, which came and conquered the rest of the world, the coal was taken from Newcastle. And it went all around the eastern coast to London. So the coal that was taken to London to keep their fire hearths burning was taken from Newcastle. So you guys, I'm surprised that only such a small number have gathered. I know it's an orchestral, but I think it's very London-centric, isn't it? That's what I was told by my friend Honey. So it's nice that you all have come to this warm place of Newcastle, though the weather isn't the same. Right, now talking a little bit about British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. I'll just tell you what the concept behind it is and how do we formulate our activities and how do we carry it out so that it might give some insight into how you may want to structure your way of functioning. I'm sure you have an established system, but it might be helpful just to get an insight on how we function. Medical graduates. And within 60 years, when we were celebrating 60th birthday anniversary of the NHS, we had something like 100 times more than that. We had doctors of Indian origin who were 50,000, just purely of Indian origin. There were 50,000 when the last count was taken in 2012. And dentists of Indian origin, we had 15,000. And we also know that currently, within the system here, the medical intake of Indian origin is 35%, and the dental intake of Indian origin is 60%. Clearly, there are going to be more dentists soon with a different color, right? So moving on. And of them, 11,500 are GPs, 10,000 are consultants, and 10,000 are specialist doctors, and 18,500 trainee doctors. So that's a big number. You can almost say that the NHS is also carried on the shoulders of ethnic minority doctors from all over the world. This is just counting the Indians. I'm sure if we take into account the people who have come from the Afro-Caribbean area and also from the Eastern Europe, I'm sure it's going to be a huge number. So actually we ought to have a say in the system here. But we clearly know that that isn't what's happening. It shows that the number of ethnic minority doctors who are consultants in this country compared to white doctors, there's a gross disparity. But doctors in training is roughly about the same. But it's said that the non-consultant grades, again, was roughly about the same, but this has changed terribly in the last 7 years. By 2013, we know that clearly the red here has gone much more than the blue one. Reason being, I'm sure you're aware of the problems that we had in 2005, where the HSNP was blocked and all permit-free training was blocked. So that caused lots of trainees to take on whatever job that was available, and the easiest one was non-career trade jobs that they had to take over. So in 1998, we launched BAPIO, though after 2 years of intense networking. So from 1996, there was a networking ongoing, and it was only 1998 that we established the organization called BAPIO. And the whole vision was to empower doctors and dentists of Indian heritage to be beacons of leadership and professional excellence. It was not for competition, it was just to develop the doctors within the system so that they finally end up as leaders within the system. That was the whole idea. So, the objectives were to realize the potential of the members. All the members of the BAPIO organization had aspirations, had dreams, and we wanted to support them to achieve that. And also promote professional excellence And if there are any members who have any difficulty in progressing in their career due to different reasons, we were providing mentorship to support their progress in the career. We were also supporting lots of charitable activities, not only in UK but also back home. And there were lots of social and cultural interactions because we believe we cannot forget our roots, and we had to promote that as well, which I believe we have tonight again. But the most important thing to focus upon was equal and fair access to competition. This is something that we often come face to face as you progress in your career. There is an inequality. It exists. There is a glass ceiling. It exists. You cannot deny that. So how did we go about doing that? Once it was established, we focused on establishing multiple little units all over the country. So we have one in Northeast, one in Northwest, Yorkshire, Midlands, Eastern, London, Southwest, Welsh and Scotland. So that's the way how we establish multiple units. Having multiple units makes it even more difficult to communicate with each other. So we had a main executive board which actually meets up on a quarterly basis. There's one meeting coming in on May 18th, I must say, and then we have every 4 monthly we have meetings. And then there's a medical student forum. So more and more medical students are joining BAPIO, and they are having their own forum, which they meet again quarterly. And there is also Women's Doctors Forum, which is again quarterly. And also there's an Essays Doctors Forum. So quite a few forums are running parallelly while we have these multiple units all over the country meeting regularly as well. So it kind of acts as a unifying body in between these various meetings. We also have this website, which many people are familiar with, which gives information on what is happening at this point of time, what the objectives of the organization are. For that matter, if you would like to know what's happening with the CSA, I'm sure you're aware of the clinical examination assessment board, which is what is going wrong in the MRCGP examination. And that's where all the information on what is the current status is available on this website. And in this website, we have information about what are the various programs that we have ongoing at this moment, and also about what is oncoming, like if there's a conference coming on, if there's an educational meeting coming on, everything is put in that website. So it's worth having a look at this website. We are moving with times. We got a Facebook page. We are also on Twitter. But this actually forms the spinal cord, as I may call it. We have an e-forum called Indigo. We also have an e-forum called Energy. We also have an e-forum called Mind. So the first one, the Indigo, actually we have, though I think it's being put as 4,500, but there are many more members who dabble in a little bit, but 4,500 core members. And they actually form the eye and ear of the organization. They are the ones who work at the grassroots level. So if anything happens in a little trust, some problem there, the trainee or the consultant, whoever feels there's something that needs to be discussed, it's put on the web forum, and people put in their thoughts, their ideas, and their suggestions on how it can be modified. And if it's a major problem which is affecting nearly whole of the country, then it is raised to the next level, where it's brought to the executive's notice, and then further action is taken accordingly. So that acts as the eyes and ears of BAPIO. I think that is one of the main unifying bond between the members of BAPIO. Now the next one is called Energy, which actually comprises of people who are in the executive and also in the think tank. So I'm sure you got an executive, so I'm sure you also have an e-forum. So that's called Energy. And that's really energetic, very enthusiastic bunch of people with lots of very strong-headed people. Some of the messages are so vitriolic that sometimes you want to expose them from the system because it doesn't agree with your system. I have some bad emails as well into that, by the way. Now the last one, but not the least, is Mind, which is an organization which supports and mentors every trainee who has come into the system. If there's a trainee who finds it very difficult to enter the system, we support them. And then once they are in the system, and if there are any problems in career progression, then they are also mentored. Some of them won't have received life coaching in the sense that they've got any problems with their family issues, even that have been supported by the mentors here. So it acts as a very supportive mentoring rather than giving an advice. It's more of a mentoring system. I'm sure you understand what I mean. So these are the 3 e-forums which helps every single person who wants to become a part of PAPIO. India takes pride in proclaiming that perhaps the first surgeon who did the first ear surgery and perhaps cloning of the ear was done by this ear. This person is what is claimed, Susruta. So in his name, in his honor, we have brought out this journal. And there's another journal which was released only last year. I'm sorry, I could not get the picture of it. So this is one journal which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it basically publishes any material that is related to the work that anyone is doing research or any other project. And then we also have this e-newsletter called Harmony, which is published on a quarterly basis, which goes to every member. Now, what are our activities? This is, as you know, one of the main activities in the way how we engage in various policies within the nation. We respond to policy consultation very often. The bodies out there, they ask us what your opinion is, and that's when we get engaged in it. And we also monitor the impact of the policy on doctors and comment on it. And also, if there is any need for change in the policy, we campaign for it and we use it very effectively. So some of the policies that we have been involved in, if you remember the Home Office immigration issues around 2005, we were very strongly involved in it. And when the Department of Health brought out the policy that the permit-free trade, that only the local graduates would get the first preference, and because the policy was established retrospectively, we fought against it. That is the second policy that we were involved in. When the CMO came out with a report on diversity and discrimination, we were very effectively involved in it. And GMC again, equal opportunities policy and disciplinary process. The COPMED, they do involve us very frequently. Academy of Medical Royal Colleges, BMA on ethnic representation, Mercy Railway on the shortlisting policy, where very clearly by then the government has decided that policy had been abolished, but Mercy Railway continued, so we had to kind of lobby for the trainees who had applied into the Mercy Railway, and we won it actually. And it can even go down to as basic as a problem within a trust. So sometimes we are involved in trust problems as well. This is something that we are very proud of, and the whole nation knows how the Department of Health was brought down to its knees in 2005 when there were around 10,000 trainees in this country who had passed their plan, and they were trying very hard to get a job. And because they were very good, many of them got the job. Then the Department of Health decided that we had to place an embargo on them, and a new policy was brought in retrospectively that we would prefer the candidate to be local as the first preference. And if we did not have anyone local, only then would we give people from abroad. So that is something that we challenged. As you remember, this is the way how we went about it. Members lobbied. Every single member who was actively involved lobbied with the local MP. I remember sending an email. I remember asking my friends to send an email to the local MP. And most of the MPs were very sympathetic to it. And then the petition with 600 signatures was presented to DOH. Did nothing to the Department of Health. And then we held this peaceful protest in Downing Street. It was very exciting. And then PAPIO gave evidence to the Health Cell Committee of the House of Commons. And fortunately for us, one MP was brave enough to bring an early day motion into the House of Commons. And then again it was completely rejected. So we had to go to the next level. That was, we legally challenged it in the High Court. In the High Court, although it was revoked, we went to the next level, to the Appeals Court, where fortunately, though they had only 3 judges, the statement was actually in favor of PAPIO. But then again, the Department of Health again questioned it. It went to the next level, Supreme Court. Again, we went back and fought it again, and then it went to House of Lords, where 5 judges supported our motion. And that's the way how it was abolished, the retrospective, and the law changed from that day onwards. That's the way how it went forward. So that's about how we went about that. This is the new story. You know about the failure rate in the CSS section of MRCGP. For ethnic minority doctors, it is 63%. That means almost 2/3 of the trainees who have undergone 3 years of training within the GP training system, who have cleared all their ARCPs, who have had excellent reports about their communication skills, about their clinical skills, and when they start to fail in the exam, 63%, whereas only 9.4% of local graduates would fail. That says something about either the training or about the way how the examination is conducted. So clearly that was questioned to the Royal College, and as usual there was no response to it. So now we have taken it to the tribunal, and there's a judicial review which is due. Here again we are collecting money, we have all paid for it. So if you guys are willing to take part in it, please do, because it's going to support the next generation of trainees who are actually suffering. Some of them had to write the exam twice, 3 times, 4 times, and by the time they've written 4 times, they are out of the system. There are some people waiting out there who have been thrown out of the system just because we think the system isn't a foolproof method of supporting a training. So that is what now we are fighting against at this point of time. We also have been involved in various research projects, and our research partners are Manchester University, Lancaster University, Wellcome Trust, General Medical Council, mostly related to placements and discriminatory policies and all that. Some of the surveys that we ourselves have carried out are enumerated there: survey on government performance and political preference, SVH doctors' issues, we raised that profile. Difficulties faced by Indian consultants about the glass ceiling, which we all know about. Well, even within the deanery for that matter, I'm not supposed to call it deanery. Health education, Northeast. Tell me how many ethnic minority doctors are there? 1%, 2%? Hardly any. Maybe just the 2 of you. When I go for a meeting on ethnicity and diversity, 99% are white consultants, and they are debating hotly about how we should support doctors from ethnic minority background. What do they know about our problems? Is the first question I raise my hand and ask. Anyway, moving on. Effective abolition of permit-free training. That was something that we looked at, and it has been published actually. We also support a lot of education programs. There's one coming in Manchester a month from now on seminars and workshops. We conduct induction to the trainees who have just recently come to UK, and also we, like I said earlier, we do mentor trainees. We have liaison and collaboration with various organizations like the National Health Service, obviously, British Medical Association, General Medical Council, London Deanery, medical and dental defence bodies, other international medical graduate organizations. We do support a lot of charity activities. As you remember, there was the earthquake, the tsunami, earthquake in Pakistan, tsunami, and also in Haiti. We did support quite a few of our doctors, did go personally. Also, we also collected money and sent it across to them as well. We do engage in international networking. That's the President Ramesh, who has been attending most of these meetings. Sometimes I wonder whether does he manage to do any clinical work, because he's traveling all the time around the world, attending all these sessions for a good purpose, I must say. And Indian doctors in UK have been supporting the Indian health sector as well by voluntary work there, supporting medical education there, support collaboration and research, invest in hospital projects, charity work. We do give bursary to our trainees back in India who want to come and attend Royal College meetings here. We do bring them to present papers here. There's a lot of work like that. And also, if there is a multi-centric research project that's ongoing, we do ask our sister organization in India to support that as well, vice versa. And lots of voluntary work, like I said, is happening. There is a reverse brain drain happening. Many of our trainees who finished their CCT are not happy to work in this country. They're all going back. There must be some reason for that. We also do encourage cultural activity because we want to keep in touch with our roots. We do encourage our children to perform. We do encourage our younger generation to learn about the culture of India, particularly the second generation, so that they are aware of what is happening in our country. I was pleased to know that you're a fan of Bollywood. Right. So moving on. This is something I would like you to know a little bit more about. I don't know how many of you are aware of MDs. Have you heard about MDs? Have you? How many of you? Show of hands, please. Excellent. So that's a good beginning. So MDS is a unique concept. This is an organization or like a defense union that we have created purely by passion. It is not for any monetary benefit, as you can imagine, because it fills in the gap what BMA and your defense union doesn't provide you. Defense unions normally support you when there's an issue related to GMC issues, I'm sure you're aware of that. And if there's an employment issue, normally you liaise with the BMA. You know that if you're coming from an ethnic minority background, you're not supported by both of them. We are aware. The first thing what they do is ask the lawyers, is this case going to win? Are we going to be a winner in this? And if they get the verdict no, then they do not encourage you to take it any further. This is not a joke. This is something that we have discovered having worked within both these organizations. So we decided to have an organization or a body like this which works for both BMA and for the defense union. So this is one organization run by doctors, for the doctors, by the doctors, which you'll realize why. And because we understand the issues really well, what are the issues faced by an ethnic minority doctor. So there's a lot of empathy involved in it, unlike the BMA or the defense union, whatever it is. And it is purely based on matter of principle, and strangely enough, not strangely enough, the fact is that you do save a lot of money. Because my wife, who moved just last year into this, she said she saved £600, so she took a holiday to India and went there and came back on her own without taking the rest of the family. So that's about economics. So clearly you're going to save money as well. And definitely there is equality because the people who are involved in it are doctors who understand the issues, not just pure people who have climbed the ladder by being a union leader or something like that. So these are the people involved in it. Check us out, that's what I would say. And if you're interested, please do join us. This is all what I want to tell you about BAPU. If there's anything else you might want to ask me later on. Thank you.
I think that we're going to have everyone speaking and then we listen to questions. We got about 10 minutes left of the last speaker, so I just would like to thank both speakers, our guests, and hope that at some time we are going to achieve something similar or close to a party, which I really cannot imagine that happening in a few years to come. But I mean, it was quite impressive and really heart-warming to see that an organization of doctors just like us had established all that body. So I think because that's a bit different. The rest of the speakers are from us. We can discuss things with them later, I mean the Sudanese ones. And so I would allow 10 minutes of questions and answers just for the first two speakers. And please be very careful. And I'm going to be, I think that is the reason Nasir got me here to get me in trouble. I'm going to be very sort of strict. So just 1 minute, and never more than 1 minute and a half for any question, and I'm sure our guests will not mind to answer now, while it's still fresh in the minds, all right? So anyone who wants to ask a question, please, you can stand or sit down, have the microphone, just mention who you are and where you work, and then ask a question. I would rather have the trainees or people who are trained and who would like to find answers to things, issues that concern their training. Thank you very much.
In Ireland. My question is to Dr. Situ. Very nice presentation. I was just wondering, how much interaction are you getting from the Indian doctors in joining BAPIO? Like, one thing we suffer from, maybe in Ireland, that the numbers, the percentage reflected of the Sudanese doctors who are really joining the union isn't as we would like it to be. Is this a problem shared in BAPIO as well?
Yes, it is it's a universal problem, is what I would say. If you look at it, for me to join an organization, I must get something out of it. That's the bottom line. So what are you offering the young doctors? Would they want to join it? There was a time when we went through a very similar situation when nobody wanted to join BAPIO because they felt it's just a whining and dining organization. Clearly, I'm not joking. There was a time when people used to consider that till the permit-free training problem came, and then there was a mass exodus, what is the word? Yeah, influx into the organization. Within a few months, you could see people were joining in hundreds. They joined Indigo first and gradually the organization. That's what I would say. So I think if people are given a definite mandate on what you would offer them, and if the offer is, like you said, there's a clear-cut terms of reference and clear-cut outcome at the end of it, I'm sure they will join in. I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer.
Ibn Yunus, urology trainee. My question, thank you for the speakers obviously. My question is to Dr. Kumar. As a valued member of a training authority or panel, do you have, in this panel, do you have a management chair as a member there or not? The reason why I'm asking this, because as trainees, we are under huge pressure from management in various hospitals that keeps us away from training opportunities. And we keep feeding that back to GMC, dineries, blah, 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 but no action. Why is that? I'm not sure. Thank you.
Can I ask what region?
No.
London?
No.
North East? Well, I can talk. We do feed it back. Certainly as foundation school director, we ask who bullies you, what stops you from training, and I have said to many senior management people that your trainees are saying they're being bullied by management, and this is an increasing phenomenon we're seeing a lot around when there's a shift to cover, being bleeped when you're off, being bleeped when you've just come off nights, and all of those kinds of things. Where we know about it, we do. Now, if you have tried in urology and it has failed, then you need to tell me, and I need to know exactly what the problem is, and then I can address it. I think if the systems you have tried so far haven't worked, you need to keep going up the hierarchy, which is why I showed you it. So if you've been through your urology TPD, which I'm assuming you have.
It's a collective capacity, yes. We've been through
Right.
various levels.
And then the head of School of Surgery, then there's a director,
Yeah.
then there's me. And if it hasn't been addressed, let me know and I will look into it. I was talking to the Board of Surgeons just this week, and I was quite surprised to see the mind mapping and brainstorming. So actually, which surprised me, I've never seen surgeons do that before. As a physician, I can say these things. So I think they are keen to help. But if you haven't got anywhere, let me know and I'll try and address it.
Thank you. I've got two questions, one for each, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with you, Nubita. HELI, yes, your organization that you lead, has it got the ability to allocate or secure posts for overseas doctors to come in for training, or they have to start from foundation year and climb up the ladder?
Yes, it's all done through open competition at every point of entry. So there is always ability for overseas doctors. But there's a few issues around the visa tiers, around resident labour market tests, and some of this all gets very confused. But all the jobs and points of entry are through open competition. The national rules, however, are the national rules, and we can't We can't not do those things. So anything that applies nationally applies locally. But we are currently looking at innovative solutions to try and bring doctors not within a career path into jobs not necessarily approved for training, but we will give them something else, a certificate in education, a research experience that then prepares them better for open competition. So, and there's an advert going up very soon for that in the national press. So national rules are national rules, but we are trying to look at different solutions.
Thank you. And for SDU, sorry? Yes, yeah. For sources of funding, we, as an organization, we're similar to yours, but we're much more smaller, we're tiny in comparison to the numbers you guys have. And as an organization, we've secured and maintained our independence as far as funding. So it's a hands in pocket from the members funding these functions and the organization's activity. How do you guys go about funding?
There's clearly a membership campaign, and every year we pay £50 annually for every member. But I must say, perhaps we are a bit unashamed in accepting funds from medical companies when we run conferences and teaching sessions. Is that okay? That's the only answer I can give you. As far as I'm aware, but maybe you might want to check with Ramesh and the bigwigs. They might have some other funding sources that I'm not aware of.
I've got two questions for the two speakers, if that's okay. Quick ones. Dr. Kumar, don't worry, I'm from Southwest Peninsula. I can see the panic. Yeah. Elderly care training. These changes, you avoid talking about money. So it's costing more money for the taxpayers. And the other question is, are we getting more money as trainees?
No more money for trainees. No more money for any doctor ever again, by the sounds of things. We won't even talk about clinical excellence awards or anything like that. It will have to cost money, and it will have to come from somewhere. And in terms of the overall budget, there will be money taken out at that level, but this money was previously going to the strategic health authorities. So in terms of the difference, I'm not sure if we're paid more or less. So that's the first thing, because the strategic health authorities took a cut when the money came down through them. In terms of pay for trainees, national terms and conditions, I think they're looking to negotiate GP contracts because they've realised that no out of hours has been a catastrophe for just about anyone working at the other side. And the third part of your question was...
Yes, that's it. Thank you very much. That's what I have. The second question is for regarding Babio. I once caught in the HSMB fiasco, and I did donate a little bit for Babio.
Thank you.
Thank you, because you gave me a chance to get into training. Is there any chance of having non-Indian origin doctors under your umbrella as well? This is the first one.
Yes, actually we have, I didn't have his picture, Aiki. He's, I think of Jamaican origin. He is very, though we call it Babio, I think we're going to change it to international origin rather than Indian origin. And Aiki is a very strong supporter. He's one of the mentors of that mind. And Aiki Anya, I think his name is. He's from Africa. I can't remember.
The other big part is, yes, there is, I last checked, 50,000 doctors who have come from India and now registered to JMC, as you know. There is 1,500 doctors from Sudan who are now on the GMC register. There's a huge difference, clearly. We're number 18 on the top 20 countries for IMD doctors. Is there any chance of a twinning between Babio and SDU?
I think my mission was to forge those bonds. I was sent by Ramesh and Satish Matthew to talk to you about that. And this is the first dialogue. It's a monologue because I'm going to talk to you. I hope that it will turn into a dialogue and we will have definite bridges between the two organizations.
family, they're both doctors, and there used to be this organisation called the ODA, Overseas Doctors Association, and it's been interesting to see how things have splintered over time, but there are many shared interests, and I have to say I've never joined any specific interest or organisation. I've gone along and talked, I've gone along and helpful, because actually I think you need to go in the mainstream to get your changes, because otherwise there's an issue about credibility and the race card. That's the thing, the race card, the gender card. And I've never joined, so apologies, I've never paid £50, but I like your MDS idea. And I think there is something very powerful about lobbies, but we have to appreciate the system we work in, and if you're really going to affect change, you have to compete. And I think you have to be better. To compete with local individuals, you have to be probably 2 or 3 times better in order to get the jobs. But that's always the way I've worked, and I would urge you all to consider that too. Don't not go to the other bits.
Can I just add to that? We are very, very proud that Namita is our PG Dean for the same reason, because she represents two, I might say, widely discriminated background. She is an Asian, and she's also, she's of an Asian origin, and she's also a woman. And she's perhaps the first woman dean from international origin. So we're very proud of that. But like you said, exactly. I think the most important thing to recognize is that not to compete against someone, just compete within yourself. Look at yourself. What have you achieved in the last 1 year? That is what Babio teaches every single trainee who wants to join us. We tell them, look into yourself. What is lacking? What have you gained in the last 1 year? Create your own personal development plan and work towards it. That's what we do in mentorship as well. No point in competing and then saying that he got it because he's right. It doesn't make sense. Look into yourself. What is your failure and what are your strengths? Build upon your strengths. And I'm sure if every single person does that, we will be dominating the world.
Dr. Kuma, do you think the new system, there's the risk that district general hospitals lose numbers of trainees at the advantage of big, large teaching hospitals? Because the way it's going to work, the Strategic Health Authority will give the money to the local training boards, including the commissioners and so on and so forth. They've got to be a provider. There is a trend now that the consortia from big, large teaching hospitals delivering the training. They get the money from the local education board and they say, give us the money and we'll distribute the trainees. And that there is a risk that the district general hospitals will lose numbers of trainees.
Not in this region.
London.
In London, but not in this region. Our DGH partners on the board are incredibly vociferous, and they are very, very keen that the numbers are redistributed, not just going to the tertiary centres. And we're not having the consortia issue as there is in London. From our point of view, we're already doing a piece of work looking at where the numbers are and where we think they should be, not just based on specialty opportunities, but engagement of the LEP in releasing consultants to train, providing time to train, allowing them to attend quality assurance activities, allowing them to go to ARCP panels, allowing them to go to the national bodies. So we're going to look at all of that. So in this region, I can say we won't let that happen, or we're certainly looking at doing it the other way. There is a risk if you've got the wrong person on that LEP board, and that's the concern. And that's one of the reasons I put that slide up, because every one of the hospitals will have a representative. It's supposed to be chief executives, it's often HR directors, and it's every trust has that opportunity, and if it's used correctly, they are more powerful than they've ever been before.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just a quick comment. I think we are going to be discussing the issue of joining other organizations, changing the direction of organization or whatever in our general meeting, and discussing the constitution. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot in it. Just one comment, however, referring to the £50 annual. We pay £120 and we are supposed to pay £240. And I think So far, there was only one member who was committed. I don't know what about the others. Anyone else paid 240 a year? That's a lot of money. However, our numbers are very limited, and so it doesn't make much. And we do have good amount of entertainment, and I think that's where the money goes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We'll move ahead to our next speaker.
Because you see, I know Bible. He come Bible Umesh, Bible. He works with me, you know. And I know the majority of the people in Bible, and because it is a long history, and we work together at some time. I just want to ask, what is the relationship of Bible with the International Overseas Doctors, or the International Doctors Association?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay, I'll take it back to you. We used to have the Overseas Doctors Association, and then that was changed to the International Doctors Association. And I just want to know where BAPU position is as far as these two, because
I'm really sorry I will have to, because I really allowed for a question and an answer.
that is a question.
But he did not have the answer. He doesn't know.
You don't know the answer.
He said he told you I don't know what's the relationship.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
maybe you will have a further discussion afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Sorry, now over here to Suhail.